But Hera and great Athena were looking on, and with mocking words began to provoke the father. Athena leading off with taunts, her eyes bright. Father Zeus, I wonder if you would fume at me if I ventured a bold guess. Our goddess of love. I'd swear she's just been rousing another Argive, another beauty, to pant and lust for Trojans. Those men the goddess loves to such despair. Stroking one of the Argive women's rippling gowns, she's pricked her limp wrist on a golden pin point. So she mocked, and the father of gods and mortals smiled broadly, calling the golden Aphrodite over. Fighting is not for you, my child, the works of war. See to the works of marriage, the slow fires of longing. Athena and blazing Ares will deal with all the bloodshed. And now as the high gods bantered back and forth, Diomedes, loosing his war cry, charged Aeneas, though what he saw was Lord Apollo himself, guarding, spreading his arms above the fighter. But even before the mighty god, he would not flinch. Tydides reared and hurled himself again and again, trying to kill Aeneas, strip his famous armor. 3 times he charged, frenzied to bring him down. 3 times Apollo battered his gleaming shield back. Then at Tydides' 4th assault, like something superhuman, the archer's strikes from worlds away shrieked out, a voice of terror. Think, Diomedes! Shrink back now. Enough of this madness, striving with the gods. We are not of the same breed, we never will be, the deathless gods and men who walk the earth. Menacing so, the Tydides' son pulled back just a little, edging clear of the distant deadly archer's range. And Apollo swept Aeneas up from the onslaught and set him down on the sacred heights of Pergamus, the crest where the god's own temple had been built. There, in the depths of the dark, forbidden chamber, Leto and Artemis, whose showers flights of arrows healed the man and brought him back to glory. But the lord of the silver bow devised a phantom, like Aeneas for the life, wearing his very armor. And round that phantom, Trojans and brave Achaeans were at each other, hacking the ox hides around their chests, the bucklers full and round, skin shields, tassels flying. Phoebus Apollo calling to blazing Ares, Ares, destroyer of men, reeking blood, stormer of ramparts, can't you go and drag that man from the fighting? That daredevil Diomedes, he'd fight Father Zeus. He's just assaulted love. He stabbed her wrist. Something superhuman. He even charged at me. Well, with that, Apollo settled on the Pergamus heights, while murderous Ares, wading into the fighting, spurred the Trojan columns onto mass attack. Shaped like the runner Acamas, prince of Thrace, Ares challenged the sons of Priam with a vengeance. You royal sons of Priam, monarch, dear to the gods, how long will you let Achaeans massacre your army until they're battling round your well-built gates? Our man is down, we press, on a par with noble Hector. Aeneas, proud Anchises' son, up with you now, rescue him from the crash of battle. Save our comrade. As Ares whipped the fighting spirit in each man, Sarpedon taunted Hector. Hector, where has it gone? That high courage you always carried in your heart. No doubt you brag that you could hold your city without an army and Trojan allies all on your own, just with your sisters' husbands and your brothers. But where are they now? I look, I can't find one. They cringe and cower like hounds, circling the line. We, your allies here, we do your fighting for you. I myself, Hector, your ally to the death. A good long way I came from distant Lycia, far from the Xanthus rapids, where I left my loving wife, my baby son, great riches too, the lasting envy of every needy neighbor. And still I lead our Lycians into battle. Myself? Chafe to face my man full force. though there's not a scrap of mine for looting here, no cattle or gold the foe could carry off. But you just stand there. Don't even command the rest to brace and defend their wives. Beware the toils of war, the mesh of the huge dragnet sweeping up the world before you're trapped. Your enemies prey and plunder. Soon they'll raze your sturdy citadel to the roots. All this should obsess you, Hector. Night and day you should be begging the men who lead your allies' famous ranks to stand and fight for all they're worth. You'll ward off all the blame they hurl against you. And Sarpedon's charge cut Hector to the core. Down he leapt from his chariot fully armed, hit the ground, and brandishing 2 spears, went striding down his lines, ranging flank to flank, driving his fighters into battle, rousing grisly war, and round the Trojans whirled, bracing to meet the Argives face to face. The Argives closed ranks and did not cave in. Remember the wind that scatters the dry chaff, sweeping it over the sacred threshing floor. The men winnowing hard, and blonde Demeter culling grain from dry husk in the rough and gusting wind, and under it all the heaps of chaff are piling white. So white the Achaeans turned beneath the dust storm now, pelting across their faces, kicked up by horses' hooves to the clear bronze sky. The battle joined again. Charioteers swung chariots round, thrust the powerful fist of fury straight ahead, and murderous Ares, keen to help the Trojans, shrouded the carnage over in a dense, dark night. Lunging at all points, carrying out the commands of Phoebus Apollo, lord of the golden sword, who ordered Ares to whip the Trojans' warlust once he spotted Athena veering off the lines. Great Pallas, who'd rushed to back the Argives. Out of his rich guarded chamber, the god himself launched Aeneas now, driving courage into his heart, and the captain took his place amidst his men. And how they thrilled to see him still alive, safe, unharmed, and marching back to their lines. His soul ablaze for war, but his men asked him nothing. The labor of battle would not let them, more labor urged by the god of the silver bow and man-destroying Ares, and strife flaring on, headlong on. And the Achaeans? The 2 Iontes, Tydides and Odysseus, spurred them on to attack. The troops themselves had no fear, no dread of the Trojans' power and breakneck charges. No. They stood their ground, like heavy thunderheads stacked up on the towering mountaintops by Cronos' sun, stock still in a windless calm when the raging north wind and his gusty, ripping friends that had screamed down to rout dark clouds have fallen dead asleep. So staunch they stood, the Trojan onslaught, never shrinking once as Atrides ranged the ranks, shouting out commands. Now be men, my friends, courage! Come, take heart, dread what comrades save you here in bloody combat. When men dread that, more men come through alive. When soldiers break and run, goodbye glory, goodbye all defenses. Flash. A sudden hurl, and Atrides speared a champion out in front. It was Prince Aeneas' comrade in arms, Diomedes, Phergus' son, the Trojans' prize, like Priam's sons, quick as he always was to join the forward ranks. Now his shield took powerful Agamemnon's spear, but failed to deflect it. Straight through it smashed, bronze splitting his belt and plunging down his guts. He fell, thundering, armor ringing against him. There Aeneas replied in kind and killed 2 Argive captains, Diocles' 2 sons, Orsilochus, flanking Crethon. Their father lived in the fortress town of Phaera, a man of wealth and worth, born of Alpheus river running wide through Pylian hills, the stream that sired Orsilochus to rule their many men. Orsilochus sired Diocles, that proud heart, and Diocles bred Orsilochus, twinned with Crethon, drilled for any fight. And reaching their prime, they joined the Argives, sailing the black ships outward, bound for the stallion land of Troy, all for the sons of Atreus. to fight to the end and win their honor back. So death put an end to both, wrapped them both in night, fresh as two young lions off on the mountain ridges, twins reared by a lioness, deep in the dark glades that ravage shepherds' steadings, mauling the cattle and fat sheep till it's their turn to die, hacked down by the cleaving bronze blades in the shepherd's hands. So here the twins were laid low at Aeneas' hands. Down they crashed like lofty pines, trees axed.